Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome into another day of Morning Jocks. Conrad Van Order and Damian Mitchell here with you until 7 a.m., recapping everything you may have missed overnight and getting you set for another great day here on Jocks, as we are now just 31 days away from the start of Auburn's football season, as they will take on the Baylor Bears in 31 days on Friday night, and then 32 days away from the Alabama Crimson Tide, as they will open their season up in Tallahassee against the Florida State Seminoles. So a lot for us to get into today. You have Auburn players are reporting today. They will start fall camp officially tomorrow. So coming up, we're going to spend a little time today focusing on Auburn and what some of our question marks are for the Tigers going into fall camp. We'd love to hear from you and get your thoughts heading into fall camp, because, there's some things like the wide receiver room, for example, don't really have a lot of questions there. Feel like that one kind of speaks for itself. But I think there are some other positions, what's it going to look like without Jarquez Hunter there in the backfield? What is this defense? How good can this defense really be in year two with a lot of these highly touted recruits, a lot of guys that played as freshmen last year? How big of a jump can they take under DJ Durkin? Those kinds of things. So excited, as it feels like we're getting closer and closer, and you can definitely smell it in the air, Damien. But we'll talk some Auburn football later. Tomorrow we'll do a little bit of an Alabama thing, as Alabama will officially start fall camp tomorrow as well. And we'll take a little bit of a tour around the SEC, making sure that we keep y'all up to date on everything going on, not just at Alabama and Auburn, but in the entire conference here over the next month as we await kickoff of week one. But we will start off, Damien, with some news in the world of college football. And there are a couple big ones yesterday, but we will start with the biggest one. And that was a press conference that we listened to around noon Central Time yesterday, as there are a lot of rumors and reports coming out of Boulder, Colorado earlier in the day. And they all proved to be wrong. A lot of people on social media seeming to jump the gun a little bit in this situation. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, that would be Deion Sanders, the Colorado head coach that we all know and love. He had a press conference yesterday, and he had announced this over the weekend, that he was going to do a press conference with his medical team, including someone there from the University of Colorado, as well as one of his surgeons from the University of Colorado. And it was, I'll be honest, going into it, I didn't know what to expect. I was worried that, we were going to find out that, potentially his coaching days were going to have to come to an end, or maybe he was going to have to take some sort of a hiatus from the program to focus on his health, which, if that's what you need to do, obviously that's what you need to prioritize. But I think, fortunately, I don't want to say, I guess it's all sunshine and rainbows, because for Deion, he's certainly going to have to make some adjustments moving forward. But I think good news, generally speaking, as he revealed yesterday that he had a extensive surgery to remove his bladder after they had found a fairly aggressive tumor there earlier this year. And that is where, if you had heard some of the clips that I guess his son had put out on social media of him, very emotional, talking about how he had to go and sit down and make a will, and he had to, I guess, contemplate what it would look like if he wasn't here anymore, and what that would look like for his family. And that was very difficult for him. And so, you heard that before the press conference, you go, man, what could this possibly be? And we find out that it was a tumor on his bladder that they were able to go in there and remove successfully. And so he has been, according to his doctors, been completely cured of that cancer. There are no traces of it left in his body, which is an absolute miracle. You saw him kind of at the end, or towards the end of his press conference, break down a little bit and just give glory to God for taking care of him, and absolutely a wonderful reminder that even in the darkest of your times, there's a plan for your life and somebody that is looking out for you. Not to get all religious on everybody this morning, but for those of you out there that live a life of faith, you know exactly what we're talking about, and the kind of things that he's been through. And it was very cool to see him honestly vulnerable in that kind of a moment where a lot of the sports world had his eyes on him and what was going to go on there. But fortunately, it seems like things are in a better direction for him health wise, and that he's going to continue to be on the sidelines there in Boulder. But as he told us, Damian, just don't be surprised when you see the porta potty on the sideline, because he's, that's what he's going to have to deal with for the rest of his life, unfortunately. But it's good news to know that he'll be able to stay there on the sideline. He'll get to continue to be a part of the game that he loves. And it seems like health wise, at least, he's probably doing better now than he has in quite some time. I think he said he had 14 surgeries in the last, I think, since getting to Colorado, I think is what he said. So in the last 3 years or so, 14 operations. And so he's had a lot going on, to say the least.
Yeah, and it's good to see, because nobody really knew what to expect with the press conference, but, to announce that he had been dealing with a form of cancer, and he's treated and he's upright. Man, it's a serious thing, because he emphasized, man, go get checked, go to the doctor. And we all, especially us men, it's kind of like pulling teeth to try to get us to go to the doctor and just go get checked up, because again, he brought up a great point. He's like, man, if it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody. Like, I still have to deal with real life stuff. And, like, for him to, overcome all of this and still be locked in and ready for Colorado football, it kind of gives you a different light, because we're so used to the glitz and the glamour that, you forget, like, he's a human too. But I'm, congratulations to Coach Prime, and, overcoming all of this, just a monumental amount of adversity. And I mean, he talked about, the draft process with Shedeur and Shiloh, and just kind of, I had a surgery to worry about. Like, I mean, I'm trying to make sure that I'm there for my kids. I'm dealing with all these things. And I mean, he made light about it. He's saying, like, I'm peeing all the time, and, I got to be careful, and, it's at a high level. But the fact that he's upright, he had a press conference to discuss everything, and the way that they gave the timeline of everything and how everything went with his doctors, being on the side of him and everything, it just kind of shows you that, man, life goes on. Like, life happens to everyone. Mm-hmm. And, no matter what, I know I've been personally affected. I've had family members in my family that have dealt with cancer, overcome it. I've lost some to it. And it's kind of one of those things that, whether you hate him or love him, what he does and how he goes about it, the human aspect of it all, you take it all in perspective of, like, you know what? If he can overcome that, by God, and he can go out there and get ready to coach a football team, then we can overcome everything. So, mm-hmm. I kudos to Coach Prime, and just everything that he's, just prayers for continued strength for him as he continues through this process. But the fact that he got up there, told everybody everything, and just continue to just be Prime. It's hey, like, he didn't look at it. I like his perspective of, he didn't look at it as, oh, it's, why is God, punishing me? It's, okay, well, how can we speed up this process? Mm-hmm. If I can be the example of overcoming these kind of obstacles, then I would love to be a shining light. And again, for him to be so strong and have fun with it, it kind of just, it humanizes it all.
Yeah, and I think, you mentioned it. I mean, let's be honest. Everybody here, myself included, everyone listening, probably, you've had somebody that's been affected by cancer in some form or fashion, whether somebody that's been able to survive that battle, or somebody that's unfortunately has lost that battle, like a lot of us are very, very familiar with. But, you bring it up, and just the mental fortitude that it takes to get through things like that. And that can be, a lot of the times, as I've heard doctors tell my family members before, that's a lot of the battle, right? Is being able to stay strong mentally and almost will yourself out of it. And it certainly seems like that's what Deion's been able to do here. I mean, you brought up his kids, and he said, yeah, I didn't even tell, half my family, because they're worried, they're preparing to go get drafted to the NFL and start their career. And I don't need them, stepping away from that to come take care of me. Like, I'll be okay. I need you to go and live your life, and just all of these things that, it's probably been a little bit of a hectic year. And again, like, we go back, and, it's one of those things where, we were all, kind of having fun with the Shedeur thing around the NFL draft. And now you go back and you're like, man, okay, so yeah, that situation is as tough as it probably was for that family. And watching, the way that, a lot of the media kind of went after it. And now on top of that, you throw in what Deion was going in with it. And it's just, man, it's some heavy stuff, and a lot that's going on there. But But yeah, if you're just now joining us, yeah, we found out yesterday Deion Sanders announced that he had been suffering from bladder cancer that had been discovered, a tumor had been discovered when he was getting one of his scans because he's had blood clot issues in the past. And again, this is something you hear about far too often, unfortunately. But you go in for something, you get a scan, and you walk out finding out that you have something much more serious going on. And that's exactly what happened with him. But fortunately, the doctors there at Colorado able to do surgery, and he is now completely cancer free, according to his doctors yesterday. So some very, very good news as we move forward into the upcoming season for Deion. And again, I know a lot of people out there. I know we live in a world where people want to be first, but the amount of reports I saw yesterday leading into the press conference from I guess people consider themselves to be reputable news sources on social media, accounts with tens of thousands of followers. Well, according to my sources, Deion Sanders is stepping away from Colorado. The amount of that garbage that I saw on the timeline, and again, I'm just saying, if you listen to any of the shows on this station, you follow any of the real news sites out there, they don't report on things like that because that is completely irresponsible and disrespectful, especially when you have a situation like this that, at the end of the day, could have come down to a life or death situation for somebody in the game of college football. But yeah, just we need to do better. We need to do better when it comes to things like that. And there's just a lot of that out there, unfortunately. But good to know that Deion is on the up and up. So that was one big piece of news in college football. We have another one, though, as there was yet another injury to one of the most exciting, intriguing players, not only in the SEC, but the entirety of college football for the upcoming season. We'll tell you who it is and how serious the injury could potentially be when we come back here on Jox. Welcome back into the Tuesday morning edition of Morning Jocks. Conrad Van Order, Damian Mitchell here with you until 7 o'clock when we will hand you off to the fine folks at McElroy and Kublik in the morning. As we were just talking about Deion Sanders and his press conference yesterday, unveiling some of the health issues that he's been going with and that he has now thankfully been cured of cancer. As he was dealing with a tumor on his bladder that had been discovered during a previous scan that he had dealing with some of the blood clot issues that he's dealt with going back a handful of years now. So good news there from Boulder, Colorado on the status of Deion Sanders. And Jamie, one of our listeners here, texted in, and this was kind of what we were talking about with Deion. And again, it's just good when people, I know a lot of people have gone through these experiences and when they like to speak out. And Jamie texted in and said, years ago, I had a problem that I had to go in and have some surgery done. And I put it off for years because I thought the S on my chest stood for Superman. But I found out it's good for stupid man because they like to kill me. So go get checked if you feel something. If you don't feel right, please, please, please go to the doctor. You're not a coward if you go to the doctor. You're not weak. That's why they're there and they can help you. But please understand if something doesn't feel right to absolutely go get checked. So couldn't say it any better myself. I know we've had some people here, friends of the show as well, that have had to go through certain things and have shared a similar message, just like Jamie did. And you heard from Deion yesterday. So absolutely hope that you take those words kindly. And as my wife reminded me yesterday, yeah, you probably need to go to the doctor soon because I'll be honest, I haven't been to the doctor in a hot minute. So
I went earlier this summer, man, and it was got blood work done, and the doctor I had, she was just as nice as could be.
mm-hmm.
One of her, a lot of her relatives, they graduated from Birmingham Southern, so it was just kind of we just chilled, talked, and everything. And she was like, I understand it as a male, it's one of those things, you feel invincible. But that's what we're here for. And then she emphasized that. It's that's what we're here for. Even if you just feel a little uncomfortable, it could be nothing. But the fact that you get in that routine of just, hey, I'm feeling a little off. Don't be afraid. I'm not going to bite or anything. But the best thing is just, to maintain, our health. Because we don't know how much time we got here. Let's not try to speed up that process because of the fact that we're, neglecting our medical issues and things like that. So, like I said, man, just it's unique that somebody again like Coach Prime and Hugh Freeze has been battling some ailments as well. He is dealing with cancer and things like that. But like I said, it just humanizes everything. It's just no matter what our titles are, we're still humans. We're still humans, and we need to make sure that we're on top of our game. And think about all the treatment and stuff that a lot of these players are getting with their their ailing injuries and nagging injuries and things like that. And you're going to experience it during fall camp. When you get the coaches make it a point for you to go to treatment. They make it a point hey, you need to get your legs up under you, make sure you get all your bruises healed up and things like that. So I think for everybody, for all athletes, all humans, man, if you got a chance, go to the doctor. If you're not feeling right, go to the doctor, get a checkup just to make sure everything is going up on the up and up.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Absolutely, Damian. So we will move from Deion Sanders and him and his what seems to be a clean bill of health now for the future moving on. And we will continue to pray for head coach Hugh Freeze as, from what I understand, I don't believe he's undergone any of his treatment so far. And I know when they caught his, it was in the early stages, which, not saying it's any less serious than what Deion was going through, but from what I understand, based on the way Deion talked about it, it seemed very, very, very aggressive and it was immediate for him. And so we'll see. And anytime we get updates on Coach Freeze, we'll of course pass that on. But just haven't really had any of those. So, but hopefully that's a good thing. I would say in these types of situations when you don't have a lot of updates, that maybe leans to it being a little bit on the better side there. But we did have a big injury news in the SEC yesterday as well that we need to get to. And I know our buddy Drake has already texted in asking about this. And this is not what you want to see, man, because DJ Lagway, the Florida quarterback. So if you forgot, he started off the offseason. He was dealing with a shoulder injury, right, Damian? So he couldn't throw for months. And now it is reported that he is dealing with a lower body injury. He's in a walking boot. as the Gators are going to start fall camp here in the next couple of days. This was reported by CBS Sports. So the severity of the injury isn't quite known. There's not exactly a timetable, but I have seen reports that the expectation is that Harrison Bailey, talk about a name, Harrison Bailey is going to be getting a number of reps at the, I guess, QB1 spot for Lagway in his absence. If you remember Harrison Bailey, this will be his 6th year of college football. He started his career at Tennessee in 2020, and he actually got beat by Florida his freshman year as a quarterback at Tennessee. I know he's one of Damien's all-time favorite volunteers.
Wouldn't say that, but
all-time favorite volunteers.
No. His name is not Hendon Hooker, and
it is not. It is not. He actually had to transfer because Hendon Hooker went to Tennessee, and that was it for Mr. Bailey. But yeah, so this is, again, not a good situation here, as this is now the second, as far as I'm aware, somewhat significant appearing injury for Mr. Lagway this offseason, and we all know expectations are sky high. You can make fun of me all you want for this, but I mean, I acknowledged this a couple weeks ago. I voted him first team All-SEC. I really believe that he passes the eye test in the sense that the throws that you saw him make last year as a freshman, and some of the times where he would just step up in the pocket and let it rip. I mean, it's a thing of beauty, and it's just one of those things that, the ball just looks a little different coming out of certain people's hands. And DJ Lagway certainly has that it factor, at least in my opinion. And I'm really excited. Hopefully this doesn't, sideline him for too long. Because I do think that we all understand, first off, having the best players on the field is good for the SEC. But if you're Florida and what the expectations for this season could potentially be, the majority of that hangs in the balance of DJ Lagway and his health, right? So if you're Billy Napier and that staff, you're really, really hoping that you get some good news here about Lagway. He's dinged up for a couple of weeks, and he's able to come back, get some things tidied up in fall camp, and he's ready to go for week 1. But we'll keep you up to date on everything going on there with DJ Lagway and his, I guess, foot, ankle, one of those injuries. If you're in a walking boot, I would assume it's one of those two. I'm assuming it's not like an Achilles or something, because if it was, we would probably heard about that, and we would be talking about next season already for DJ Lagway. So hopefully it's something minor. But yeah, this would be an absolutely massive, massive issue for Florida if they have to go into the regular season without their star quarterback.
Oh, 1,000%. Like you said, the success of Florida season hangs on the balance of what DJ Lagway does at the quarterback position. And if he's not at 100%, it does bring a little bit of caution, man, because again, he had to sit out the entire spring, and when you're not playing, like you're going to get rusty, no matter how you slice it up. But as far as getting into fall camp, you need to start ironing some things out. Like it's a little bit difficult to just plug and hit the ball rolling, because he hadn't thrown a pass since December, since the bowl game. So it's okay. Yeah, we need him at 100% or close to 100%. But I think if you're Billy Napier, you need to make sure that he's good to go, and not rush him back on the field. But it does kind of bring a little bit of concern when he's in a walking boot right here as you're about to start up fall camp.
Yeah, so this would be a massive blow. Again, Harrison Bailey looks like he's going to be. So he went to Tennessee, then to UNLV, then to Louisville. Now he's in Florida for his 6th year of college football. Yes, 6th year of college football. So he's expected to get the majority of the reps with the ones while DJ Lagway's out. You also have Aiden Warner, who's a former Yale quarterback. He got to play one game last year against Texas, and it was real bad. It was real bad. So I would think that Harrison Bailey is probably going to be that guy. But let's be honest, there's a reason that you've never really been a starting quarterback in your first 5 years of college football. So Florida really, really needs DJ Lagway to get back, as does our buddy PG, who's on the phone line, wanted to chime in this morning. How we doing, PG?
Oh, we're doing good. Hey, guys, I don't know, the inside sources I've got have told me it's not that bad. It's a calf injury. He was running. Damien ought to know that when you're a wide receiver, that sometimes he may not have stretched enough or something. He just took off running hard with running drills, and they said it's a calf. And they think he'll be back for the first game. Of course, he needs to get reps. And I'm like you guys, and like Damien said too, all he did was hand off in the spring football game. So, I mean, he's not got the reps to the receivers yet, and he can't keep missing and, expect, because we got LSU the third game of the season, Baton Rouge at night. So he's got to be back at least. I'd like him back the first game, get some reps in the second game. And plus, he's reminding me, this is bad, he's reminding me of Anthony Richardson, couldn't stay healthy. You remember that? He can't stay healthy in the NFL.
That's that's a good point. Yeah,
if he don't stay healthy, what a talent he is, but Lord Almighty, this has got to get better, I'm just kidding. He does have an arm. He's got a cannon. But let's just hope, what I'm hearing, it's not as major as, no Achilles heel tear or nothing like that. It's just a calf injury and hopefully he'll be back the first game. But that's all I want to give, guys. Good morning to you guys, and I'll see you this afternoon at Social Taco.
Sounds good, PG. Appreciate you chiming in this morning. And, hopefully some good news around the corner for your Florida Gators. And hopefully PG sources are correct, and it is just a little bit of a minor calf thing, and we are moving on ahead to the season.
Stretching is important, man. No matter if you're a quarterback or not, dog. Hey, got to protect yourself. You can't just go. Listen, the older you get, the harder it's going to be. So you might as well start stretching now. Keep those ligaments and joints loose, man, because Florida's going to need you, big dog.
Yep.
They are going to need you. But, again, hopefully, PG is and they, speaking the right things as far as just it's nothing major. But you got to – one thing about playing football, you're going to have to be on the field in order to produce. And, listen, I understand not one man can change everything, but when DJ Lagway is the quarterback for Florida, they look a little bit different.
Your best ability is your availability.
Absolutely. As Jimmy Garoppolo.
They like to say. So it is what it is. But hopefully some good news around the corner for the Florida Gators. How about the Auburn Tigers, though? They're going to hit the practice field tomorrow for the first day of fall camp. Players reporting to the Plains today. So what does that mean? What are our question marks for Auburn heading into the 2025 season? A season laced with big expectations. We'll share our thoughts next on Morning Jox. 6:33. Welcome back into Morning Jox here on your Tuesday morning. Conrad and Damian with you. Appreciate you making us a part of your morning each and every day here on Morning Jox. So if you're just now joining us, you may have missed the announcement at the beginning of the show, but today is the day that the Auburn Tigers will report to the Plains for fall camp. Tomorrow will be their first day of, actual going through practice training, things of that nature. So coming up here, we're going to share some of our thoughts, and we want to hear from you as well. What are your question marks for Auburn heading into the 2025 season? But first, Damian, we have a very exciting opportunity for you listeners coming up in a few weeks.
Absolutely. Celebrate the kickoff to college football with us at the Bill Smith Buick GMC Jox kickoff party at Regents Field on Thursday, August 21st. And the only way to go is by winning tickets. To win a pair of tickets for you and the guests, text the keyword FUN. That's FUN and your full name to 205-834-9450. That's keyword FUN, F-U-N, and your full name to 205-834-9450. Winners are drawn daily and notified daily. For more information, visit joxfm.com.
Absolutely. That's always one of our favorite events of the entire year, so we can't wait to get out there to Regents Field and see all of you. And that'll be 8 days before Auburn kicks off their 2025 season against the Baylor Bears. And so as they hit the practice field tomorrow and get things officially going there for fall camp, what are, when you look at this Auburn team, Damian, because again, we feel pretty good about the wide receiver core. I think on the defensive side of the ball, right, you understand you brought a lot of guys back. You have a veteran presence in the secondary. You've got some young guys up front that are going to contribute, like Malik Blockton. You got DeMarcus Riddick there in the middle. You pair that with some of the vets like Keldrick Falk, and who may be the first Auburn first-round pick in a couple of years. And so there's a lot of reason to be excited there. So outside of the quarterback position, though, because I think we can all agree for Alabama and Auburn, right? A lot of it's going to come down to the quarterback play, and we just don't really know what that's going to end up looking like. What is your biggest question for Auburn as they head into fall camp? What do you still need to know about this team?
The identity of the run game, because I think that what we saw in Jarquez Hunter for a couple years of being that bell horse, that bell cow running back that can carry that thing 20, 30 times. Now, if you give it to him 20 or 30 times, that's a different story. But he's built for it. He was built for it. But I think, what's the 1-2 punch going to look like for Jeremiah Cobb and Damari Austin, guys that we have seen in spell moments, but now it's their opportunity. Do we see a running back by committee? Are they going to be able to switch it up? Because I don't have any question marks as far as the receiver position. But also I do think that does Jackson Arnold include in that running game? Because we saw what he was able to do at Oklahoma with his athleticism. Mm-hmm. So I think collectively it's just, what does this run game look like? Is it going to be more of, finesse? Or are they going to get to a point where they can go downhill and just hand the ball to, Damari or Jeremiah combined 20, 25 times a game? So I'm looking at how do they identify the run game, because I think offensively, they could go air raid if they wanted to and have, yards all over the place. But I think that they're going to have to establish how are they going to find ways to put games away without having to, put the ball in the air, like an Oklahoma situation where even if it is third and long, we just need to chew the clock. Do they have the running backs by committee to get it done and make sure that they're an integral part in what this offense can do?
Yeah, I think that, what you bring up about the running game is a great point. And while I think we all have faith in the collective talent of that room, you also throw in a Darrell Robinson there as kind of, the third back who transferred in this offseason. And we all, again, there's a lot of talent in that room. It's just that's a lot of mouths to feed at the same time. And what is that distribution going to look like? And I think the greatest point of all that Damian made is, are you just going to call run plays, right? Because as we saw last year, you brought up the Oklahoma game. There are other games where, it felt like, talking to Auburn fans, I was talking to an Auburn fan 2 days ago, and they brought up the Kentucky game, and they went, man, I felt like watching the game. I was like, they said they felt like while they were watching the game, they were physically holding Hugh Freeze on the sideline, like, don't call a pass play. Like, just let him do his thing. And it's just, again, it's one of those things where you can see it with your own eyes and how it works, and then you continue to not go to it as a coach. And that's where I think a lot of the question marks come in, right? Because I think we agree this team is set up to be the best Hugh Freeze Auburn team that he's had, probably by a wide margin. But at the end of the day, if you're not taking advantage of the talent you have on your roster, the play calling has to match, the players that you brought in there. So, but going along with that, I would honestly say offensive line. And I think a big thing for that is, I mean, you could say this about a lot of programs and a lot of teams the last few years, but that's always been a little bit of a pain point for Auburn here in recent history, right? They haven't had one of those years where you just had like, I'm not even talking about a Joe Moore Award finalist or anything like that, but just one of the better offensive lines in the entire conference. And I think this year you got all upperclassmen. You brought in Xavier Chaplin. The expectations for him are sky high. We all know how special Connor Lew is. Dylan Wade's played a lot of football. Jeremiah Wright's played a lot of football. Like, you've got these guys that they've been through the experience. They've worked together. You are having to bring in 2 transfers to fill in your tackle spots, but you should have some continuity bringing back 3 guys on the offensive line. And I think for Auburn, not only is that going to help determine what you brought up, Damian, with how effective the running game can be, but we know how important that's going to be for Jackson Arnold because, to be fair, last year, he didn't have a great offensive line, but what did he have a problem with last year? He didn't throw a ton of interceptions. He fumbled the ball a lot last year. And that's where, if you're Auburn, what can you do to protect Jackson Arnold and hopefully limit those opportunities? Because he wasn't, I'm not going to say that he was an elite passer or anything, but he wasn't making Peyton Thorne decisions a lot of the time. He wasn't even I would say he wasn't even making Garrett Nussmeier decisions a lot of the time, right? Like, he wasn't one of those quarterbacks that's just going to go out there and let it rip and say, well, if it's a pick, it's a pick, right? And but he had problems keeping the ball secure when he got pressured in the pocket. And so if Auburn can keep him upright, not only is that going to obviously give him more confidence, but it'll help with the running game as well. So Damian goes running game. How is that distribution going to go in the backfield with Damari Alston, Jeremiah Cobb, Darrell Robinson, and who knows, maybe even an Alvin Henderson is able to find some playing time with how special of a player he was coming out of high school. I'll go offensive line. I feel like there's some, maybe not question marks necessarily as who's going to fill the roles, but how good can that offensive line be this year? Because, I mean, we all know that you win and lose the majority of your games in this conference in the trenches, right? And so I think defensively for Auburn, you got to feel really good about what you got up front with the Malik Blocktons and Keldrick Falks of the world. Well, can you feel good about what you got on the offensive side of the ball as well? Because there's certainly that's certainly very, very important. And as we all know, these things, hopefully we will have an answer to after the Baylor game. But these are things you need to figure out in fall camp, because the Baylor game that's not a tune-up game. That is you need to be 100% ready to go and build some momentum at the start of the season, because I think we all understand. I'm not buying into, we've had people text in recently, oh, well, if Auburn loses that first game to Baylor, does Hugh Freeze get left on the tarmac? No, we're not doing that. But it is an important game. Like, let's not kid ourselves, right? The season's not over if you lose it. The season isn't a success if you win it. But it sure would be a heck of a lot nicer to start off with a win and have things headed in the right direction there if you're Auburn and Hugh Freeze. So those are some of our big question marks: running game, offensive line for the Auburn Tigers heading into fall camp. Just some things we want to hear. How things are going. Have they been shored up? What can we expect? Are they expected to be elite position groups here in the SEC this upcoming year? Because this is, as we all know, a big one for the Auburn Tigers. But a lot of you chiming in with some of your thoughts on what to expect, what your questions are for Auburn heading into fall camp. And so we will get to those. We will get your reaction, your thoughts on Auburn as they start fall camp officially tomorrow. Players reporting today down there on the Plains. That's coming up next here on Jox. Welcome back into the Tuesday morning edition of Morning Jocks. Conrad and Damien here with you until 7 o'clock, when we will hand you off to the fine folks of McElroy and Kubelik in the morning, as they will no doubt continue to get you ready for the upcoming college football season, with fall camp starting around the SEC this week. And Alabama and Auburn both going to be hitting the field tomorrow. You're also going to get to hear from both Hugh Freeze and Kalen DeBoer tomorrow around 9 a.m. as they, for whatever reason, are both doing press conferences at the exact same time. So that's going to be really fun because so here we get to have the debate between, okay, well, who do we air first? And then obviously that, tells the listeners in their minds which school we favorite, and they have already made up their mind on that one.
You're a huge Alabama
We
guy.
see you on the text line. Well, I don't make these decisions.
That is true.
I do not make these decisions, but it will also be interesting because you've got, a lot of local TV stations and things that are going to have to, just saying, it's just interesting when they're speaking at the same time.
What you gonna do?
Exactly.
What you gonna do?
Exactly. So we will see, but it'll be good to get to hear from both Hugh Freeze and Kalen DeBoer tomorrow as they will kick off fall camp with their kind of preview of what to expect here over the next 4 weeks as we approach the kickoff of the season. But we were just sharing some of our question marks. What do we need to see from Auburn? What are we still hoping to learn as they kick off a season full of high expectations? Damien went run game. What are you going to do with all the mouths to feed in that running back room? Is it going to be running back by committee? Is one person going to kind of, run ahead in that competition and be the lead back a la Jarquez Hunter last year? And I went offensive line, and a lot of that just has to do with, you have a lot of expectations on the offensive line this year. You have a senior-laden offensive line or upperclassmen-laden offensive line. You've got your Connor Lews of the world, your Xavier Chaplins, guys that really, really good football players. And so can this be the year that they have an elite offensive line? We will certainly wait and see. But some of you chiming in on the text line with your questions. And somebody, Trey, chimes in. He says, I'm a big college football fan and an even bigger Auburn fan. Who, in your guys' opinion, will be a breakout player for Auburn this season outside of the obvious choices and names? That's a good question there, Trey. I guess if we're, are we counting a Perry Thompson? Is that an obvious answer? As somebody that now, given circumstances on the team, right? Like there's, kind of a spot there for a wide receiver to step up outside of Cam Coleman and Singleton.
Yeah.
I think Sam Turner's a name I've heard a lot. And I know he's just a freshman, but that's another name that I've heard a lot of people are really, really high on him.
Define, I guess you say, quote unquote, breakout. I would say one of the running backs because, again, the only time we've gotten a chance to see him is just like in,
we're not looking at them as a star running back or anything.
Right. Yeah. But like if they could emerge into being somebody, like I said, if one of those guys can say like, hey, I can carry this thing 20, 25 times too. So I guess one of the running backs, just pick one to be honest. But and then defensively, because the names that you have on that side of the ball are so, like you got the Riddicks, you got Keldrick Faulk. I guess you could say somebody in the secondary, but I would lean more on the offensive side of like just truly breaking out because we know the Cam Colemans of the world and, maybe Bryce Kane, kind of finding his way as far as like the slide and just being that speed guy, some things over the top. So they got a lot of weapons that they could, but I do think the focus is going to, try to find a way to give Eric Singleton and Cam Coleman the ball as much as they possibly can.
And I think that's a smart decision. When you have those two guys on the outside, that's typically, I would say, a good call there if that's ultimately the way that they go. Chris chimes in. He says, biggest question for Auburn, I think, is the O-line like Conrad. The times Auburn is good is when they can run the ball on anyone. Absolutely agree with that. Also, when they choose to run the ball on anyone, I would say it would be a good caveat to throw in there. But, yeah, no, I think, again, offensive line, and not so much as I think their offensive line is going to be bad. No, I think they're going to be quite good. It's just, are they actually going to be that good? Because that'll be a key part to Auburn. If Auburn goes out there and has the kind of season that a lot of people are expecting them to have, that offensive line is going to have to hold up. No doubt about it. Let's see. Somebody else chiming in. They say, Hugh Freeze is my biggest question mark for Auburn. He had one of the best running backs in the country last year and wouldn't put him to work. Hugh Freeze will be fired this year, and they will go 6-6.
Wow. Phew. Just go ahead and let the man lose the job. Okay.
Hey, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that he is going to be able to learn from the wrongs of last year. And maybe that's foolish, but you're getting paid a lot of money to win football games. I think it'd be in your best interest to maybe take some constructive criticism as a head coach from time to time and implement that.
Every now and then.
But time will tell. Someone said we need to get Sandra Bullock to go down to Auburn and just tell Hugh Freeze to run the freaking ball.
Run the dang ball,
Michael.
Run the dang ball.
My wife hates that movie for some reason. I've always loved that movie.
I mean, I love Sandra Bullock, but it was good, man.
I like The Blind Side. I feel
like some things were probably a little taken to the extreme for cinematic purposes.
Yes,
but overall, I mean, you got Nick Saban, you got Senator Tommy Tuberville,
got Orgeron,
Ed Orgeron, Lou Holtz. Like, man, you got some cameos in there.
Got Tim McGraw.
Yeah, he was in it. Yeah, he's Sean. Congratulations.
Yeah, Sandra Bullock was better.
Absolutely.
Some people chiming in. The Blind Side's awful. The cheese is so bad. Someone else also said, once you find out the truth, it ruins the movie. Okay, well, we're living in movie world. Yeah. We're living in movie world.
Listen.
It was a good story in the movie.
It was.
It's a good story regardless of if he sued them afterwards. Anyways, Fat Joe chimes in. He says, how many schools, Damien, have you narrowed it down to? Who are you going to root for this year? Have you made a decision? You don't have to tell us, but have you narrowed it down from 5?
No.
You're still at 5?
Still at 5.
Okay.
Still at 5.
I just didn't know if, you wake up in the middle of the night sometimes and you're like, God, I can't, no way I'm rooting for that team this year.
No. It's still 5.
Okay. Let's see. We have more text coming in. Somebody says they think Jordan Crawford could be a breakout contender for all. I will say this. I called Mountain Brook High School football games, and they played Parker twice last year, including in the postseason. We did not win either of those games, but Jordan Crawford was a big part of that. Dude is an absolute monster. Absolute monster. So, yeah, that's somebody that, again, as a younger guy, we'll see what his role could potentially be, but it could be a pretty special player there for the Auburn Tigers. Bobby chimes in. He says, I know I'm in the minority with my opinion here, but I don't get the hype with Lagway. I get he was just a freshman, but at the same time, he had more interceptions than starts and only 12 touchdowns on the year. If we're going to say Nussmeier is turnover prone, I think it's fair to put Lagway in that category too, given the sample size that we've gotten. Okay. I mean, I'm not necessarily going to push back on that.
Yeah, but I look at the years they've been in college football. DJ Lagway was staring at, the defenses for the first time as a freshman, where Garrett Nussmeier, he's been in the league for quite some time. Yeah. But I do get it. Like, yeah, you want to just take care of the ball no matter what year you are. Never want turnovers.
No, you certainly do not want turnovers. You're absolutely right about that. Let's see. Oh, Don getting some love from our listeners this morning, as he does each and every day here on the show. Let's see. Somebody says, shout out to the Gilligan's Island bumper music, Damien.
They play big timers on Gilligan's Island?
I don't know, man. He just said that. Shout out to Gilligan's Island. We appreciate all of you chiming in. Thanks for all the texts. We're back tomorrow at 6.